Hi, my name is Surjo Banerjee, and I'm the founder of Growth Squad. Growth Squad is an ROI-driven, full-funnel growth agency. Now, what that means is we help our clients with lead generation through marketing and also help them close those deals by implementing the right sales processes. We do that by getting together all the experts under one roof. And our leadership team has a combined experience of 70 plus years helping businesses grow. In an attempt to help the startup community, we are running some short fireside chats. And the topic to discuss today is the changing environment of sales. And for that, we have Alper Yuda, who is the founder of Flora. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me, Shorju. Is that the right way to say your name, Shorju?
It is Shorju.
Excellent.
Thank you.
I did my best.
Yes. Right. So maybe let's start with a quick introduction about yourself and what Flora is all about.
Of course. About myself, I've been in sales for quite some time now. After a career in consulting, I switched to sales, and I've been in different revenue leadership roles in different environments, post IPO to all the way to Series A, and eventually earlier this year, last year actually now, took the leap of faith to become a founder to build Flowlab, which is basically a tool that we're building to solve our own problem in sales, which I'm sure we're going to cover. Other than that, I'm a Mediterranean in heart. I love traveling. I love the sun. Although I'm based in the UK in London, I am traveling all the time, and I'm also a micro blogger from the Mediterranean. In case anybody's interested in tips from Spain, Greece, Italy, etc.
Nice.
Follow me there.
I think we'll put the details down there as
yeah,
well,
yeah,
so
do
people
it.
can follow you there. Great. No, thank you so much for that. So, the first question that I ask for any of the fire chats is, what is the current problems that salespeople face? You think?
Absolutely. I think the problems kind of have been similar, that people have been feeling the same pressures for quite some time, but obviously with the new economic environment, they have just become a bit more severe. I guess across the funnel, from generating top of the funnel to closing deals. Even after closing deals, like delivering, making sure that you're selling the right thing in the right way. I think all of those areas definitely need areas of improvement. There can be things that can be done to improve the revenue acceleration for every type of organization. But probably the top trends that we see at the moment is that, sales cycles, they're definitely lengthening. People are finding it more and more difficult to stand out from the competition across the funnel, not just for, outreach and first contact, but also keeping your clients engaged and driving them towards the tunnel, as we say at Flowla. And as I say, also client success, delivering, onboarding, all of that becomes, as with the buyer's power becomes more and more potent. Of course, the expectations get higher. So the collaboration between the whole revenue team, from marketing to sales to client success, it needs to be like really tightly knit. So I could say those are the main challenges that I observe.
Great. I think you're right. I think you and I, we've been in sales for quite some time, and we started our sales journey with, here's a sheet of 100 people that you need to call.
Yeah.
and we did that. And it's become more and more difficult. I'm seeing the trends in the market where cold calling, obviously the conversion rates, you have to call a lot of people to get through to them, but it's become even more difficult post-COVID. So you've spoken about the challenges in salespeople fail. The question is, how is Flora tackling that? How do you help companies tackle those challenges?
Great question. So we started building Flowla from our own pain points in selling. I've been in especially enterprise sales, complex sales, before moving into more high velocity SaaS sort of sales. So my life has always been about nurturing clients, building long-term relationships, very long sales cycles, multiple stakeholders. You have to build consensus, nurture just as you feel like you're closing a deal, somebody pops out of nowhere that you had no idea about and is like, we need to be GDPR compliant in XYZ country. So all of those things mean that the idea was, how great would it be to have one single space where the buyers and the sellers and all their stakeholders come together in one single link, easy breezy, we close a deal. So you don't have to send 50 emails and open 20 Slack channels, et cetera, et cetera. So that was the original idea. And as we start building the product, I think that's the beauty of being a product owner as opposed to a salesperson, is that you build something, you put it out there, and then people start doing their own thing with it. And suddenly we had an influx of especially funnel creators. We actually, in Flowler terms, we call them funnel boosters. And this can not only SDRs, but full cycle AEs, even like founders or, one man, one woman shows where the idea is like, we need to generate business. Yeah. So those people started suddenly taking the tool and using it for first contact, because it's a tool where instead of sending a long email with lots of links and text, which nobody's reading anymore, you send your story in a nice, easy, breezy way. If the right person at the right time ends up looking at your flow, you tell a story without being spammy, basically. So cold outreach is one. And then all the way to closing a deal. And as I said initially, the handover to client success. So I speak to revenue enablement managers who use Flowler to make sure that their salespeople are selling the right things. Because, as a salesperson, I was always grilled by my client success people. What have you sold? You haven't kept us in the loop. Well, why did you sell this thing? Why did you promise your client this, et cetera, et cetera? So I'm like, now we have one single place where the whole team can see what is going on, deal by deal.
Yeah. So this is great. I think so. So from my understanding, there's one thing that you're trying to solve, which actually comes on top of, the priority for a lot of clients we work with is the buyer's journey, because the buyer's journey has changed. As you said that the sales cycle has lengthened now, but also nobody reads emails anymore. You can send 100 email and probably one of them is going to open your email at the end of the day. So what you're doing is improving the buyer's experience, of buying a service or a product of your client. But why do you think this journey is so important in the day that we live in right now, or we're selling it right now?
You mean the buyer journey in general, or? I think the most important thing is that your buyer has the power and has always had the power. But we as salespeople, sometimes we want to make sure that, we have our tricks, our tactics or whatever's. And sometimes the whole process is not very visible or transparent, either for sales reasons, tactical reasons, or just because there aren't the right tools to help your buyer to move along that tunnel, as I described before. So what we try to do is to make sure that as a salesperson, you can visualize the buying process to your buyer and handhold them towards the different stages that you need to go together. Because if you think about it, I hear from a lot of our users, especially as I was building the product, I heard a lot of, we have a 30-minute call and then I leave the call and I assume that everything is clear and everybody knows everything. I send a long email. For 7 days, I have no reply, nobody's reading. And then I check in with somebody and they're like, oh, whose turn is it now to act? And the salesperson says, well, dear buyer, it's now your turn. You need to send me an NDA or whatever. So we try to make sure that journey is as easy breezy for the buyer as you assume it is for you. And a final point I will say is that I think as salespeople, we are lucky enough to have a CRM tool where we can kind of observe the stages and check out what's going on. With a deal, the buyer doesn't have that visibility again. I mean, exactly. Either they will have to go to their email and see a Google Sheet that you sent them, or maybe they will check an Asana, or they will try to book a calendar with you. Enough, like one single link where all of that happens.
I think this is, yeah. And also I think the other thing that you're trying to solve is, as you mentioned, you are in the last stages, somebody just pops up and the whole deal just falls apart, right? I remember until
happened to the best of us.
Yeah. Until 4 or 5 years ago, it was for one decision, there was 6.86 stakeholders. Yeah. I'm sure that's much more right now as of 2023. Yes. So I think that's another thing when it comes to buyer's experience, that you're actually getting everyone on one page. which I think salespeople find it quite difficult, because again, tactical reasons, or most of us are like, let's sell quickly and let's get out
Yeah.
of this
Yeah.
this whole process and go to the next client. So I think that's important as well, and I think more and more the industry as a whole is now finally focusing on the buyer's journey. Less leakage of leads, and also hopefully it improves the sales cycle. My next question is, we are in 2023, COVID is gone, but also the way we work, it has changed. Our commercial teams have all, teams were working together. Any questions, anything to be done, we would discuss that and there and move on. Post-COVID or flexible working, how do you think that's changed the way customers are buying, and how do salespeople start adapting to that change that they're facing right now?
Guys, yeah, absolutely. Everyone is, and I think the adaptation has been very smooth and fast, faster than everybody thinks. Actually, it's so funny when a new user is starting to use Flowla, they're like, okay, I'm going to send a link to my buyer, but are they going to view it? What is their reaction going to be? We always assume that people are quite laggard in their adaptation to things. Overwhelming majority since we started building the product has been maybe 99%. Like the buyers are wowed. They're very happy. They're like, what is this thing? You sent me a flow. Everything is there. This is cool. Can I use it? We get so much referral, like the product has its virality. The point that I'm trying to make is sometimes we try to be on the safe side and make sure that, we are thinking on behalf of our buyer or our prospect or whatever, but people are ready for this kind of change. And just as remote work has become the norm, or flexible work, I think in the sales conversation, buyer empowerment, frictionless kind of buying, self-served buying will start becoming a bit the norm as well. And we already see that, nobody wants to book a demo. When you're booking a demo, we actually opened the product up for free sign up 2 weeks ago, and the signups have probably 5-6x'd, like all of a sudden, because everyone who would come to a demo with me was like, I really enjoyed this conversation with you, but I hated having to book a demo with you. People just want to go and see. Also, your pricing, everything has to be visible. Bringing it back to the remote work point, I think flexibility, empowerment, becoming on the pilot seat is becoming more and more important. After COVID, everybody wants to have choice. Everybody wants to be the decision maker of what they want to do. So if you as a salesperson are introducing friction, steps, stages, those are all kind of eating from your revenue. So the way to go is going to be self-served, easy breezy, one single link. Let's just communicate there, etc., etc. And for us internally, it works really well because we are a fully remote team at the moment, or a remote first team, let's put it that way. Although we're London based, our team is in 8 countries, and our product is basically so much culturally fitting our own culture of remote work, because this is a tool that enables you to sell to a person just from the comfort of anywhere, basically.
Yeah, exactly. So to just continue this conversation now, in numbers, are you seeing any trends in the sales functions? Example can be conversions or calls or emails. Are you seeing any particular trends right now in the industry?
Yeah, I think there's a variety of information that I get depending on different sectors, because I speak to salespeople from different, SaaS, non-SaaS, high velocity, complex sales, etc. Probably the trend of self-service and removing friction is becoming more and more important for everybody, and it's kind of becoming the trend. Visibility, transparency is also becoming more important, because almost every deal, like the smallest purchase back in the day, wouldn't involve your CFO, but all of a sudden there's a CFO and their whole organization who is going to be looking at your smallest budget. There's lots of budget freezes, etc. So being transparent, making your pricing very simple to understand and visible, if possible, for your product. It's not possible for every product, but making those things visible and sharing them up front is just going to accelerate your sales cycle, because the sales cycle is definitely lengthening. I think there was a Gong study that I saw in September or October that average sales cycle was lengthening by 3 to 4 months. And I know from speaking with people, sometimes I hear like 20 stakeholders involved in a deal, which, you know, back in the day was maybe a decision that could be made by middle management. So all of those signs are saying like, make it easier for people to buy from you, I think.
But that's interesting because you know, from the SaaS world perspective, we are very much used to this SDR, AEs, onboarding, customer success. So your buyer is actually going through 4 different people. Buyers now, if it's 20 people, 20 people have to go through 4 different people. And I think that's even more important now. How do you make that frictionless? Because everybody has a very important role to play. But how do you make that as a frictionless journey for the buyer rather than, you know, as you mentioned, nobody wants demo. What should not happen is someone's done the qualification and then during the demo, they're asked the same question. I think this is one of the biggest frustrations that buyers have, that I've just answered all your questions and now I'm again have to answer all these questions. So I think that again, I would think that's really, really important to make that very frictionless. And also, you know, SDRs have, for me, and again, would love to know your thoughts, but SDRs have started becoming such a powerful role in an organization because most, you know, 76% of companies struggle with lead generation.
It's
and
the
this is where
job
SDRs,
at the moment, yeah.
exactly, and this is where SDRs come in. But yeah, I mean, I think this is where that frictionless journey has also probably become much more important, you know, between different teams.
Yeah.
My final question to you is, we all know to set up basic KPIs, and this hasn't changed for the last decade or 2 decades that we have been working in sales, right? 2023 and going forward, do you think that the KPI should remain the same, or do you think we need to start thinking of having some more KPIs? Because ultimately, KPIs is how many meetings you've had. Yes, that's great. But what we have forgotten is to get that one meeting, there are various stages that's involved. But do you think because you are focusing on that experience, you're making that buyer's journey much more easier and helping salespeople to sell more effectively and efficiently. Any KPIs that you would suggest the sales leaders to start thinking now?
Sure, I think 2 things are becoming more and more relevant now. Yeah, the times are really hard, and unfortunately, when companies are thinking about cost saving, they're thinking always top of funnel and maybe making sure that the AEs now have a full cycle kind of role, and SDRs might be the first ones to be affected by that sometimes, and sometimes it's the opposite. The leadership gets affected with, you know, middle management being kind of wiped out, etc., etc. I think 2 things are really important. One, from an activity generation standpoint, of course, you can set goals for your team, but I would challenge any sales leader, which I was doing today, to go out and reach out to people on LinkedIn and see how easy it is or difficult to book a meeting, or, you know, like saying like, yeah, 20 meetings a month is the norm. Well, great, but times are different. So you go out and do it, and then let's see if if you're able to do it, and then I, as the SDR, will do it. So for me, what I want to make sure that my team is doing is they're doing everything right. So measuring their activity, making sure that, you know, they're out there doing what is supposed to happen on a daily basis. And multi-touch, of course, is always very important. Making sure that, you know, you capture the right people at the right time through different channels is important, but without being spammy. And I think Flowlay is a great way to do it, because sometimes it kind of, some account executives, they describe the product like, here, everything is there, you know, it's one single link, everything is there, and they start circulating the information internally, so you don't have to do relentless chasing, relentless follow-up, relentless cold calls. There's one power user who started using it for cold call follow-ups. Like, okay, they would send a flow. If the client is checking the pricing or a case study or whatever, they will pick up the phone and they'll say, okay, could this be relevant for you? So much better engagement. That is the top of the funnel side. In terms of the revenue side, I think what becomes really, really critical is net revenue retention. I think at the moment, the cost of acquiring a new customer client is just becoming really unbearable for a lot of businesses, especially who are later in their stage. So then what do you have to do? Make sure that you retain your existing clients and make sure that you provide better service to them. So for us, for example, within Flowla, not only sales or front of the house kind of employees are in charge of the revenue, but everybody, in the sense that the whole revenue team, so the customer success person will also have a upsell or a retention quota to make sure that our bottom-up motion is supported. Because what's really critical, I think, especially in the SaaS sector at the moment, like there was this dream of PLG, product-led growth. I'm going to create a product, everybody's going to just buy it, love it, use it. That's not the case. Everyone's looking for best practice. Everyone's looking for good ideas. Everyone's still looking for the human interaction. So what we introduce is a client happiness kind of style with our customer success approach, and making sure that, that client happiness role is incentivized in the right way, so they can turn the users into more frequent users, make sure that, they're inspired, they're given best practices on how to outreach, how to close a deal, etc., etc. Yeah, I would say those things.
Yeah, I think you've actually said two very important points. One is, as a sales leader, get out there and start making sales. Because yes, you can do a lot of meetings and trainings, but I believe that as a sales leader, you should also have a quota, because if you are not going out to the market and selling, you will never know what to train your salespeople. And the second thing is, yes, it's really, really important to retain clients at this point in time. And again, because that's where what you guys are doing, that experience of putting everything in one place, experience matters, and helping your client too. Great. No, I think thank you so much. I think it was really insightful. All the best for Flowla, and I'm sure people watching this video will benefit quite a lot from listening to a sales leader like yourself. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you. My pleasure. Thank you for having me. It's been a great chat.